Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and in today's episode, one of those great episodes you always like, is another interview. And today's I'm going to interview my friend Richard, who's been a long time, it's a long time friend that sort of got in really early when I just started, my getting into anime and that kind of stuff, she's get into the various different stories of that. But again, before I begin, I want to remind people to go down below, click like, click subscribe. Definitely, even just doing something simple as hitting like, really does help the YouTube algorithm. And for those who like to support me financially, I do also have the super thanks button down below, as well as the links for the PayPal and the Patreon. Now, I've been building a lot to the Patreon recently. I've now put a lot of resources available to you people, as well as a lot of the content that is for the subscribers that I cannot put on YouTube, because there's now a lot of topics that I'm now covering which are not allowed to be put on the YouTube. So all those things are now available to the members there, as well as I've also now put the my audiobooks available as in audio form and on video form as well. Those are also partially free to the Patreon members, so do check that out. Okay, and so for all the other new users that are on this channel, I've also compiled all the episodes of the History of Fan Anime into a large database sheet. And if you like to basically look at different episodes that are pertaining to certain topics, like maybe CDs or maybe art books or maybe the fan culture itself, like conventions and that kind of stuff, they're all put together in a book-like fashion, and they're put into the spreadsheet. Again, the link is below, as well as other resources like the database sheets for the My Anime list of the 1980s, and of course the top 30 animes of the 1980s is also all available in spreadsheet form there. Link is below. Again, now, my friend Richard here, okay, I'll just warn you in advance, okay, he is, very knowledgeable and resourceful. He very touches on a lot of different topics and that kind of stuff, and is knowledgeable of a whole bunch of different fields, including computer tech, and he has a lot of experiences in different things. He has very a broad range of views and very some really far ideas and theories and concepts, which a lot of people don't think about. So he's a really good person to talk about different ideas and bounce ideas off of. But there's one thing that I'll tell you, warn you right away. He's not afraid to give his opinion, and he doesn't pull punches. Okay, so if he if he believes in something, or likes to talk about something, has a view on particular something, he won't hide or candy coated in any way. So I'm gonna have to be a little interesting, because again, this is YouTube, so I may actually have to make a special version for the Patreon, just because some of his the things are really um, you know riveting, as it were, and might be even too hot for YouTube. So we'll see. As I think we're going to team up and do quite a few episodes. So again, so I've explained before that when we went to a lot of the anime conventions, like Anime America, Anime Expo, San Diego Comic Con, and things like that, we did road trips. Okay, the reason that we started initially doing road trips is because obviously it's more economical than taking airplanes and flying to San Francisco, Oakland, or Anaheim, or San Diego. But the other problem is that if you take the airplane, you can only really do that one sort of area, one sort of city, without actually having to then inevitably having to again rent a vehicle or something and then go to these other places. Because again, the anime was really kind of spread out. Like everything wasn't just in Los Angeles, or wasn't in San Francisco, wasn't just in San Diego, right? To do it properly, you'd want to sweep all three, right? Somehow maybe,
maybe fly into like San Francisco and then go to San Francisco, San Diego, San Jose, then to Los Angeles, then San Diego, then maybe fly out to San Diego, or that sort of thing, right? But we found that so many. If you end up having to rent a vehicle anyway, and you have to pay for all these airplane, flights in and out, it's just so expensive, right? So we finally decided, okay, why don't we just do a complete road trip? And so the first time we did it, we just used personal vehicles, and we just did that. We realized it takes 26 hours to drive from Vancouver to San Diego, and of course we're not going to do it all at once. We want to do it in steps and take appropriate road stops, and we had to deal with having people, enough drivers so that we could rotate drivers and that kind of stuff, and have eating breaks and that kind of stuff. So a lot of logistics had to be learned on the go. And so Richard, joined us on one of our road trips, and he continues to come up with some questions during the interview. So this is the preamble for the interview. Let's go into it now.
But why do this versus bypassing it all and just going straight to Japan, where the source of all the culture was? Why not just do one big trip to Japan? How come you guys decided to do a road trip?
Richard asked a really good question right off the bat, and I had to think about it for a moment because the question kind of caught me off guard, and thought, and I didn't have an immediate response. But then after a little bit of contemplation, several things just sort of came in mind. Number one, I mean, sure, yeah, I mean, obviously, in order to we could spend a hell of a lot more money on the airplane ride ticket to Japan. And then we'd land in some, very, famous thing, Akihabara and all that kind of stuff, and go see the temples or whatever. But that would be more of a vacation, with just a side of anime with it. And I'm not sure everyone would sort of enjoy that more than once sort of idea, right? Like, so maybe, obviously, the tickets would be way, way more expensive. So you're going to be spending thousands of dollars more on the actual ticket to go to Japan for, tourist reasons and that kind of stuff, as opposed to where that $1,000 and, thousands of dollars could be more allocated into actual merchandise and actual things that, you could get. So I think that's one concern. The second concern is that if we went and took a trip to Japan, I mean, that would be fine. Again, touristy type of, aspect would be the utmost thought in mind, right? But then we'd have to make sure that one of our Japanese people came with us, that knew where all the places to go and what are the things to do, right? Because then without access to Google and all these things like this, we don't know where to go. We have absolutely this is like 1989, right? So before the era of Google and Google Maps and websites dedicated to go here, go there, or no YouTube to tell you what these places sort of look like, okay, or what the names of them are. So as a person who doesn't live in the area, I mean, all you can really do is you could go to the library and buy a book that's several years old, and sort of like, oh yeah, if you're going to Japan, here's a bunch of temples and that kind of stuff. But they probably won't tell you that. Oh yeah, the best place to get anime is this shop in Akihabara or something like that. No one would know that kind of information, and no one would put into a book that would be like translated, put into English, and sold at Barnes and Noble, right? So I mean, no one's gonna publish a book like that at that time. So really, it's like jumping into a black hole, right? Because you just have no idea, what you're doing, where to go, what hotels to go to, what places, what trains, even for the, I mean, sure, you can find out maybe where the locations of a bunch of temples are, maybe some inaugural places for having to do with the temples or World War II or something like that. Sure, I mean, those would be things that you possibly could be interested in, but again, we don't know where they are. We don't know what they are. What the significance of them are. So it makes it really, really difficult, right? So that's probably another reason why we wouldn't go to Japan. Now, in contrast, we know from these flyers and magazines, Animage and Anime America, and all these fanzines, locations of CFO information from the fanzines and that kind of stuff. We know that there are stores like Laser Perceptions, New Type Hobbies. We know that there is this Japan Center in San Francisco. We know that Nikaku Animart is in San Jose, and Grant Street, down in San Francisco. We know that the aircraft carriers is located in San Diego. We know that there is this sort of gaslight district in San Diego, and all the people who talk about hey, when we went to San Diego Comic Con, this is such a great place and all. So we know that these are places that people have gone to. They've talked about and said, hey, this is where you can go. And all of a sudden now we have an itinerary, and we can say, hey, instead of spending $3,000 for a ticket to Tokyo or whatnot, we can spend a couple of $100 on cars and maybe rent a car or whatever. Split the cost and that, because we can get down to places like California, because these are all in California, and we can hit them all if we had a car. So again, this seems way more money efficient and something within our realm. And I think another reason that I just pondered and thought about is that not everyone in our group is like emphatically really interested in anime per se. Okay, but again, because the interest in the genre is still very, very young, right? So a lot of people, sure, they've seen Robotech and maybe Captain Harlock and a few other kind of animes, but some are more, more heavily into, like myself, where we started getting into like Orange Road and all these other stuff. These other guys, maybe not so interested, but maybe they're more interested in, and they were more interested in, Star Wars and Star Trek or something. I know some of the guys were more interested in the the medieval reenactments, and whatnot, right? So they're more into trying to collect swords and armor and helmets and all that kind of stuff, right? So to handle their interest, they were interested in more of those things. I know that one of the first trips that we went to, we had a computer engineer with us, and he was more interested in all the 3D gaming and modeling and that kind of stuff. So one of the trips that we went to one of these BattleTech gaming centers, right? So it was essentially the same thing as one of the BattleTech simulators that would or mecha games, right? Mech Warrior or that kind of stuff, kind of games, but they were made into like these fighter pods, and then you can rent time and go into these, and then at the time we're still dealing with vector graphics, so everything looks like the Star Wars arcade game, but they were using Mech Warriors, so you can be in a Tomahawk or a Spartan or whatever, so it was really, really kind of cool, but yeah. So all of a sudden, this is what will happen. Like some people, because of the wide variety of entertainment and interests, right? A trip to California, especially a trip to San Diego Comic Con, where now all of a sudden we're bringing in all the comic genres and all the popular media from the movies and that kind of stuff. That's where it's not just we want to see anime artists and that kind of stuff. No, I mean we also want to see our favorite actors and actresses from various different TV shows and that kind of stuff. And I said I've come up and and met several people from Battlestar Galactica, Stargate SG-1. I remember the big sign autograph session with like 8 of the members from Angel. These are like once in a lifetime type of things where you just don't meet celebrities just like off the cuff like that. And again, that's just my personal experience, but I'm sure that it's probably the experience of some of the other guys as well. And I'm sure Richard will tell you the same.
So the biggest thing that I got when I started getting in on it with you guys was, if you remember, was procurement of transportation.
That's right.
You either ended up having to rent a vehicle, which would cost a certain amount of money. Back then, I don't even know how much it was, which we eventually did, or you had to procure other people's vehicle, and that's how we ended up saving more money, right? So segging into when I entered into it, I first remembered that because we didn't have enough vehicles to carry everybody, we sort of had to improvise. And you remember the first car I went down in was in that Oldsmobile.
Big land yacht, yeah.
Yeah, it was a burgundy red 1976 Oldsmobile, which had a cracked engine case, leaking oil, and we had to. There was all kinds of things wrong with that car. When my uncle gave it over to me, it was leaking air and a flat tire. There was the cracked engine case and everything else, and there wasn't much they could do. They couldn't even weld the engine case to prevent the oil leaking, so we ended up filling it with oil all the way down and having to check the air and everything else. Plus, that thing's air conditioner didn't work.
That's right.
You remember that?
Yeah, the air conditioner didn't work. Yeah, that's right.
Now, I distinctly remember that first trip because why? I was sick with the flu and bronchitis.
Yes.
I literally was
You were
borderline
not on-
pneumonia.
Yeah, you were
Okay?
not on that.
And how many drivers did we have? 2. You and me. Because all those other guys
Yeah.
we went with weren't qualified. Lyle and Med were in the other car in the truck, and they were in the truck that was Med's truck. And then you and me, it was you, me, Bill, and then that white kid. I can't remember his name now. Big. Was that his name? Okay. So the biggest logistics issue when doing those type of road trips was procuring a vehicle. And every year that we went, I think subsequently we found after that initial trip it was easier to just rent a big giant, minimum wage labor van from U-Haul, and we rented it for a week. So one of the things that I think you can tell anybody that's listening and wants to do this is procuring a vehicle was quite difficult. There's insurance involved, there's people qualified to drive, they're crossing state lines. I don't think any of us even considered getting travel insurance. This was pre-9/11 days, so I think you can get across the border even with a driver's license. You didn't need a passport, right? You could even do it with a birth certificate. Now, after Homeland Security, 9/11, and all this other crap, migrants, people looking for work and everything, good luck trying to get across the border and something like that. And then another thing you have to have is, other than not even considering travel insurance, none of us also were even checked into, because we were so rookie and bush league, we didn't even consider crossing state lines with even our driving insurance, right, for liability. I think it was just default, you guys rented the vehicle, and it was assumed whoever had a license and could drive, that would cover us for our travel insurance and for our liability on the vehicle.
Yeah.
Little did we know, because when we did get that first van to go down there, that we ended up, was it because we had 2 inexperienced drivers at least, didn't we have a little fender bender, or at least a couple of accidents with the vehicle?
That's what we got the comprehensive.
Okay, so Richard mentions insurance and that kind of stuff, and when we did the rental van. So basically, we got a discount from budget because some of the people that went on the trip were part of the automotive industry, namely glass repair. So we got a discount from doing that. Anyway, he mentions that we got insurance and that kind of stuff, and so every time we ever did the rental of the van, it was advised to us that we should always get the comprehensive insurance. And that's supposed to be like, it covers like everything and anything, costs a little bit more, but it covers you for all the incidental accidents and malfunctions and that kind of stuff. And then we realized, oh my God, that was such a lifesaver, or that was definitely worth it, because some of these vehicles and what we did, we just I wouldn't say we totally trashed the vehicle, but we did some pretty big numbers on it, and we thought, oh my God, this is gonna cost us extra and all that other stuff. But no, the comprehensive insurance covered it. And so again, if you ever end up in this situation, pay the extra money. Trust me, it really does help. Anyway, this video is getting kind of long, and I would love to to describe the accidents that we got into. So, but let's make a special episode in the next episode where we cover all the damage that we did to these budget rental vehicles and that kind of stuff. So do remember to click your like, and make sure you are subscribed and have your notifications on. So when I make the second part of this episode and post it, then you can listen to the to the funny stories of how we like literally just trashed these budget vans, and the madness that ensues. All right, so I'll catch you in the next one.
Okay, I hope you found that really interesting. Again, I do plan to do more different episodes with Richard because he has a lot to to comment on. And again, if you have any sorts of topics you want to suggest, or you want more elaboration on something, maybe to actually spend an episode talking about a particular concept, by all means, leave a message below, and then I'll make sure the next time I touch base with them, we'll get more on that. All right. So until next time, I will see you again.